Welcome, everyone, to our Touch of Torah with Rabbi Barry Silver. Tonight is January 11th, 2022. We're pleased to bring you this chat about Torah study on a weekly basis every Tuesday night. I want to put a pitch in because next Tuesday night, we're lucky enough to have as our guest, along with Rabbi Barry Silver, Rabbi Zvi Khan, so we'll have a Touch of Torah with two different perspectives, a modern Orthodox and Rabbi Barry's cosmic or inspirational Judaism approach. And tonight we have Shalach, which is a very important parsha, and crossing the Red Sea with Miriam and Moses. And take it away, Rabbi.
Thank you very much, Sharon, for orchestrating this, promoting it, and for being here. It's great to see you. It's great to see Suzanne, and I'm sure others will be joining us. Yes, this is a very interesting passage, and let me just share with you what Sharon started out with. We have a unique approach to Judaism at L'Dor Va-Dor. It seeks to unite Judaism and science. Many efforts have been made to do this. None of them, I don't think, have done it in a pure form, pure science and pure Judaism. Ours attempts to use science in its purest form, which means that you follow the evidence wherever it leads, and you don't have preconceived notions that you're trying to prove and you're using science to back it up. You're allowing science to follow its logical conclusions, and you also are inspired by Jewish ideals, kindness, of love, of compassion, of knowledge, education. And it's often referred to as inspirational Judaism, meaning that you can be inspired and rational at the same time. In fact, the more you know about the world around us, the more inspiring it is. Also referred to as cosmic Judaism, indicating that cosmic means the whole universe, that we're not narrow-minded. We're not just here to serve Jewish people. We believe that all people, all living things, all entities in the universe are part of one cosmos, and that we seek to bring out the unity in everyone. That is best captured by the watchword of the Jewish faith, the Shema, which indicates the unity of the entire cosmos, and that we are here as Jews and sensitive people of any religion to try to recapture the unity that sometimes is quite elusive. Now we're going to apply that type of approach, a rational approach, to the Torah passage this week, which is a really fascinating passage. It's called Shalach. Shalach means to send out. It's sometimes used in a phrase, Shalach manas, which means to send out gifts, which you do on Purim. And it's also used to describe someone from Israel who's an ambassador here and tries to share the joy and beauty of Israel and get people to want to come and visit. They're called a shaliach, someone who is sent out from Israel in order to be a bridge with the Jewish community in other countries, including the United States. Shalach describes the exodus from Egypt from the very beginning. It's a very, very fascinating passage, has a lot of great historical moments in it, and also a lot of keen insights into the moral beliefs of the Jewish people. So one question that often dogs the Orthodox, they have trouble answering this one, is that the Exodus describes the Jews in the desert for 40 years, and they got all types of stuff with them. They're constructing the tabernacle, they're building a golden calf. If they were slaves, where do they get all this gold and silver, and where do they get all the equipment to manufacture articles of clothing described in the Torah? And where do they get all the equipment and the materials to make all these various worship items and holy items? Where did all that come from? Well, they have an answer to that. It's rather extraordinary. But it says in the Torah that when the Jews were about to leave, the Egyptians had a change of heart about them. And instead of considering them slaves to oppress, suddenly they were filled with magnanimity. And they just opened up their homes and said, here, take everything you need. We want you to have whatever you like. And suddenly Moses became a very popular figure in Egypt, and the Egyptians all lavished wonderful gifts upon the Jews. How they were able to carry all this out That's not really explained too well either. But that's the explanation that is used in order to get out from under this conundrum about where the Jews got all these different articles and artifacts in order to construct all these things. The passage has some great drama in it. So the Jews are on their way out. The Egyptians, you probably know the story, they're following in hot pursuit in their chariots and all their soldiers, and the Pharaoh's coming after them. And they have their backs up against the sea. And at that very critical moment, when it looked like Jewish history was going to come to a crashing defeat and that they had no hope left, what do they do? What do the people do? Well, they were Jewish. They told a joke. They naturally resorted to humor. And so it said that the people said to Moses, "Why did you bring us out into the wilderness? Were there not enough graves in Egypt to bury all of us? They had to take us out here so we could die in this literally God-forsaken place." And Moses, ever patient, doesn't lose patience with their sarcasm. And he says to them, just watch, sit back, and behold this incredible miracle. So you probably know the story. The Jews have their backs to the sea. And then Moses, this part you probably don't know, it's also very interesting. Moses then says to God, "Hey, we're in trouble. Go do something to save me." And God says to Moses, "What are you crying to me for? Go out and do something. Get moving," which is probably pretty good advice for people who, when things are hard, they start praying for divine intervention. What are you doing that for? Go out and make something happen. So anyway, he says, go out and do something. Now there's a Midrash, which means a story that's made up by the Orthodox, either to teach a lesson or to try to correct something that doesn't really make sense in the Torah. There's a Midrash, and the Midrash is that nobody wanted to go out into the sea. They all thought that was crazy. Like, I'm not going to be the first one to walk into the sea and drown. I don't have confidence that if I do that, it's going to open up in part. And God decides, well, I'm not going to do a miracle unless somebody has faith. I'm not just going to you have to show some amount of faith. So it was kind of like a logger jam. And the Egyptians are getting closer until one Jewish person demonstrates great faith and starts walking out into the sea, getting up to their ankles, then their knees, then their chest. And then as the water's about to go up to their neck, suddenly God says, okay, you passed the test. You got faith, opens up the sea, and because of that person, the Jews were saved. It's a lesson that's trying to teach us that one person with faith can encourage everyone, and that faith and that courage can spread to others. We do not have to take this story as literally true in order to get the message. If we have faith and confidence and ideals and principles and our Jewish heritage, and we're willing to commit and to risk it all in order to verify this faith, then perhaps we can save an entire nation. And so that's a very important lesson of the Torah, that we have to have faith in our ideals. If you have faith without evidence, that could be rather dangerous. So it's good to place your faith on things where we have evidence, not necessarily proof. If we wait around for proof, then we'll never act at all. But if we have evidence, then we can act upon it. So that's another interesting facet of this story. Another part of the story is that Moses becomes a songwriter and a cantor. So as the seas are parting and the people are passing through, Moses breaks out into song, and he's singing songs of praise to God. And then, just to show that females are entitled to be cantors too, after he's done, then Miriam gets into the act, and she picks up a timbrel, a musical instrument, and then she sings a song also. Not quite as loquacious as Moses, but the two of them sing together, and the Jews pass over. The story keeps going a little bit after that, but that's pretty much the highlight of this passage, Shalach. I explained in a little bit of depth because on the Friday night Shabbat celebration, we don't take the time to fully explore the Torah passage. We give a rather shortened version of the Torah reading and the interpretation. but that's a lengthier explanation of what happens in this remarkable passage called Shalach. If you watch us on Shabbat, you'll see the Torah being read, interpreted. You'll hear some very interesting, innovative music, and you'll also hear some of the traditional prayers. We believe in tradition. We also believe in updating the tradition, and we believe especially in Jewish values and morality, which the world desperately needs today. Our president today spoke about truth and about justice. These ideals come from the Torah. Emet is truth, and justice is tzedek. Emet, the tzedek, comes straight out of the Torah, and these teachings have much to say about the world today. With that, I will conclude my comments. I'll open it up to any other questions or observations, and then we can wrap up. Anyone have anything they'd like to share? Go ahead, Sharon.
So whenever there's a song in the Torah, it's written a different way, correct?
Yes,
it's like
that's true.
indented, or it's like set aside. It's got different spacing and everything. Is there a reason that they did it that way, to make it's almost like it's set apart from the regular words of the Torah?
Yeah, in the biblical days, they didn't have what we have, like musical notes. They didn't have a clef. They didn't have a way of writing a score for music. So they wanted to show that this is something separate and unique. It's a song. And so, yes, they would indent it and write it out differently in order to make that point. The song that's sung here, that I'm sure you're familiar with, is the Mi Chamocha. Here is set forth the Mi Chamocha. Who is like you among the gods, awesome in holiness, performing wonders? That is the song that Moses sang according to the Torah. And when we sing this song on Shabbat, it reminds us of the Exodus. The goals of Shabbat there's two reasons given for the Shabbat. It's mentioned in two different places in the Torah. Reason number one is freedom and liberation. So Mi Chamocha reminds us of the liberation. And the other reason is the creation of the earth. So we also celebrate Shabbat to remember creation and liberation. Anybody else? Any other questions or comments? All right, in that case, I am going to wrap up this Torah session. And I just want to let you know that this month of January, we got a lot of good things planned, a lot of very interesting Shabbat celebrations. And we have a wonderful approach to Judaism, which tries to integrate science into religion. And it also needs to be integrated into government. I heard on TV today, one of the health officials was saying 200,000 unvaccinated people died because they did not believe in science. Not believing in science can be very, very deadly. And it's our great gift that we have, and we should not ignore it, but we should integrate it, not only into religion and into politics, but into our daily lives in order to try to approximate the truth as best we can. I want to thank you, Sharon, for orchestrating this and for being with us. And I want to thank all the people of L'Dor Va-Dor who are sharing and supporting our wonderful, unique approach to Judaism. And we will be having events live and in person, outdoors at first, perhaps, as soon as possible, because the intellectual aspect of Judaism is one of the most important things about Judaism. We cherish the intellect and education. We also deeply cherish relationships. We cherish being together, supporting one another. And so we will do that as soon as possible. And we also care deeply about being with each other at times of loss and times of need. And so we're having a good time doing the Zoom and the interactive, and Sharon does a great job in producing it. But our goal is to be together, and together we shall be very, very soon. Thank you, everybody. Laila Tov, buenas noches, bonsoir.